There is a secret I carry, a weight heavier than any shield, sharper than any blade. It lives in the quiet moments, in the space between breaths, in the deep dark before the sun even considers rising over the 7 hills of Rome. It is a secret folded into the rough fabric of my tunic, a whisper caught in the straw of my pallet. No one knows I hold it. Not the guards with their heavy sandals pacing the stone corridors, and certainly not him, not Crixus, the master I serve. He whose life is a roar of the crowd and the clash of steel, would never suspect the silence that holds his truest story, a story only I am beginning to understand. You and I, we will walk through this day together, and perhaps, by the end, you will understand the secret too. It is not a thing to be spoken aloud, but a thing to be felt, a current that runs beneath the surface of this life. As this journey begins, if you wish to share this calm with others, a gentle press of the like button is all that is needed. To continue these explorations, feel free to subscribe. There is no bell to ring, only peace to be found. Now, let us return to the quiet. The air in our cell is cold, the kind of deep cold that settles in stone and bone. It is still the heart of the night. The city sleeps, but the Ludius, this school of gladiators, never truly rests. It breathes, a shallow, watchful breath. I can feel it in the floor beneath me. I am awake long before the first horn. My eyes are open in the pitch black, and I listen. Listening is the first and most important task of my day. I listen for the breathing of my master, Crixus, sleeping on his cot across the small room. His breath is deep, and even now, a slow tide pulling in and out. In sleep, he is not the lion of the arena. He is just a man, lost to dreams that I can only guess at. Are they of battles won, of the sun on his face in a field he can no longer remember? Or are they of the darkness, the endless waiting before the gates are raised? I do not know. I only know the sound of his rest is a sign that all is well for now. The night has passed without incident, without the nightmares that sometimes cause him to cry out, his hands clenching into fists as if holding a sword that is not there. I listen beyond our cell. I hear the distant, rhythmic clang of a hammer from the forge. Old Vulcanus, the blacksmith, he, too, keeps the hours of the wolf. He is likely mending a helmet or forging a new training sword, his world one of sparks and sweat even in the deepest night. His sounds are a comfort, a sign that the structure of our world holds firm. The Ludius is a machine, and each of us is a small, vital part, moving in our prescribed orbits. The forge is the heart, pumping iron and fire into the veins of this place. I hear the shuffle of a guard's sandals, the faint jingle of the keys at his belt. He is a shadow moving through shadows, a reminder of our confinement, a reminder that these walls are both a home and a cage. My own breathing is the quietest sound of all. I slow it down, matching the deep rhythm of Crixus, in and out. The air is stale, smelling of sweat, old leather, and the faint, metallic tang of dried blood that never quite washes away. It is the scent of this life, and I have grown so accustomed to it that I barely notice it anymore. But in these predawn moments, I can isolate each scent, follow it to its source. The leather is from the pile of armor in the corner, waiting for my attention. The sweat is the honest labor of the training yard, soaked into the very walls. And the blood is a ghost, a memory of the arena that haunts every stone of this place. I do not move a muscle. To be a good servant is to be invisible, to anticipate a need before it is voiced, to move without disturbing the air. My first duty is stillness. It is observation. My palate is thin. The straw inside rustles if I shift even slightly. So I remain a statue of flesh and bone, my senses reaching out into the darkness. I can feel the rough weave of the blanket against my skin. I can feel the cold seeping up from the floor, a slow and persistent chill. This cold is a reminder of where I am, a constant companion in the life I lead. It keeps the mind sharp. It does not allow for complacency. The secret I hold feels warmer than the rest of my body. It is a small coal glowing in my chest. It is the knowledge that the man sleeping a few feet away, the man the crowds pay to see, the man who is a legend forged in sand and blood, is not the man they think he is. And I, a servant, a nobody from a conquered land, am the only one who sees the cracks in the marble. I see the flicker of something else in his eyes when he thinks no one is watching. It is a flicker of profound sadness, of a weariness that has nothing to do with the muscles of his body. It is a weariness of the soul. And my secret is this. I know why. I found something. A small carved piece of wood, no bigger than my thumb, hidden away in the lining of his oldest tunic. It is a small bird, a sparrow, with its wings outstretched as if in mid-flight. It is so worn, so smooth from years of being held, that the details are faint. But it is there, and I have seen him, in the dead of night, when a nightmare wakes him, take it out and hold it in his massive, scarred hand. He closes his fingers around it so gently, a gesture so at odds with the violence he is known for. He does not know I have seen this. He does not know I found a loose thread that led me to its hiding place. This small bird is the key. It is the beginning of the story I am piecing together, a story that exists only for me in the silent theater of my mind. It is a story of a life before the arena, a life he has never spoken of. This is the secret I carry. The sparrow in his hand, the sorrow in his eyes. The faintest hint of grey begins to bleed into the blackness of the small, high window of our cell. It is not yet morning, but the promise of morning. This is my signal. It is time to rise. I do so slowly, carefully, making no sound. My movements are a practiced dance of silence. I fold my thin blanket with precise, deliberate motions. Each fold is the same as the day before, and the day before that. The routine is a comfort, a set of sturdy walls I build around my day. The straw of my pallet makes a soft sigh as I smooth it down. I am a ghost in my own life, leaving no trace. My first destination is the stone basin in the corner of the room. It is filled with water that I brought from the well late last night. The water is achingly cold, a shock to the system that is both unwelcome and necessary. It clears the fog of sleep from the mind instantly. I dip the cup, a simple thing of fired clay, into the water. The sound is a gentle liquid murmur in the profound quiet. I do not drink, yet. First, I pour a small amount of water into my cupped hands. The cold is a jolt, spreading up my arms. I bring the water to my face. It is a ritual of waking. The cold seeps into my skin, chasing away the last remnants of my dreams. It sharpens my senses, brings the world into focus. I can feel every drop as it runs down my cheeks and drips from my chin. The smell of the water is clean and earthy, the smell of the deep well from which it was drawn. It is a pure scent in a room that is full of the smells of struggle and confinement. I repeat this 3 times, each splash a deliberate act of purification, of preparation for the duties to come. This small act is my own. It belongs to me. It is a moment of clarity before the day belongs to my master. Then I take a small sip from the cup. The water is so cold it feels like a shard of ice on my tongue. I let it sit in my mouth for a moment before swallowing. It travels down a cold river, awakening my body from the inside. It is a stark and simple beginning. There is no warmth, no comfort, only the bracing reality of the cold water. It reminds me that the world is not a gentle place, and that I must be ready for it. My body is a tool, and this is how I prepare it for its work. I must be strong. I must be awake. I must be ready. Across the room, Crixus begins to stir. A low groan escapes his lips. The sound is thick with sleep. He shifts his large frame on the cot, and the ropes that support his mattress creak in protest. His breathing pattern changes, becoming less deep, more aware of the waking world. My time for quiet solitude is ending. The focus of the day is now shifting from my own internal world to his. My purpose is now entirely about his needs, his comfort, his readiness for the day of training ahead. I take a rough linen cloth from a hook on the wall. It is clean, but stained with age and use. I dip it into the cold basin, wringing it out until it is just damp and cool. I walk over to his cot, my bare feet making no sound on the stone floor. The grey light from the window is a little stronger now. I can see the outline of his face, the strong line of his jaw, the network of old scars that crisscross his skin like a map of his violent life. Even in sleep, his face is a mask of intensity. But I have seen the sparrow. I know there is more behind the mask. I gently, very gently, place the cool, damp cloth on his forehead. This is how I wake him every day. It is a gentler summons than the blare of a horn or the shout of a guard. It is a small act of kindness in a world that has very little of it. He does not startle. He is used to this. His eyes open slowly. They are dark, and for a moment they are unfocused, lost in the lands between sleep and waking. Then they find me. They clear, and the awareness of the world floods back into them. The gladiator is awake. He does not speak. He rarely speaks in the morning. He simply nods his head once, a small, clipped motion. I take the cloth away. He swings his legs over the side of the cot, his feet hitting the floor with a soft, heavy thud. He is a mountain of a man, all muscle and bone, forged through years of relentless training and brutal combat. He sits for a moment, his head in his hands, running his fingers through his thick, dark hair. He is shaking off the last chains of his dreams. My next task is to bring him the basin. I carry it over, my arms straining slightly with the weight of the stone and water. I hold it for him as he splashes the cold water onto his own face. His movements are not gentle like mine. They are rough, aggressive, as if he is fighting the weariness in his own body. He snorts and spits, the sounds loud in the small cell. He is driving the weakness out, preparing his body and mind for the pain of the training yard. He is building the wall around himself, the wall of the unbeatable Crixus, the champion. Now watch him, my face a blank canvas. I show no emotion, no reaction. My role is to be a steady, unmovable presence, a mirror that reflects nothing. He finishes his washing, and I take the basin back to its corner. The ritual is complete. The day has officially begun. The quiet, solitary moments are over. From now until the last embers of the fire are banked for the night, my existence is an extension of his. I am his hands, his shadow, the silent keeper of his world. And I am the keeper of his secret, the secret of the sparrow. A secret that makes this servitude something more, something that I alone can understand. It gives my simple, repetitive tasks a deeper meaning, a purpose that no one else can see. Each act of service is an act of observation, another piece of the puzzle of who Crixus truly is. The chill in the air of the cell is a physical presence. It clings to the walls and settles deep into the stones. My next task is to fight it, to bring a small measure of warmth and light into our small world. In the center of the room sits a small iron brazier. It is simple, functional, and one of the most important objects in our daily lives. Last night, I prepared it, laying a bed of charcoal and a few pieces of carefully saved kindling. Now it is time to give it life. I kneel before the brazier. The iron is cold to the touch. I take the flint and steel from a small leather pouch. They are worn smooth with use, familiar shapes in my hand. The steel is a small, curved bar. The flint a shard of grey rock with a sharp edge. This act requires patience. It is not about force, but about precision and timing. I hold a small piece of dried moss, my tinder, against the flint. I strike the steel against the stone. The first few attempts produce only a dull, scraping sound. The air is damp, making the task more difficult. I do not become frustrated. This is a meditation. I control my breathing, slow and steady. I focus only on the tools in my hands, on the small space where I am trying to create a spark. Crixus is dressing now. The sounds of him pulling on his tunic and leggings are a backdrop to my work. He does not watch me. He trusts that the fire will be lit, just as it is every morning. It is a part of the clockwork of his world. The servant will bring the fire. The servant will bring the food. The servant will prepare the armor. I strike again. A tiny, bright orange spark leaps from the stone. It lands on the moss, and for a single, breathtaking moment, it glows. I hold my breath. I bring the moss to my lips and blow, ever so gently. It is a whisper of air, a soft encouragement. The glow brightens, a tiny red eye opening in the darkness. It is alive. I have created something where there was nothing. A flicker of heat, a promise of warmth. The smell of the smoldering moss is sharp and earthy. I carefully place the glowing tinder into the heart of the kindling in the brazier. I continue to blow gently, coaxing the tiny flame. It is a fragile thing. This new fire, it could easily be extinguished. I must nurture it. The tiny flame licks at a piece of dry twig. It has a small, yellow tongue of fire appears, dancing as if it is alive. It grows, finding another piece of wood, and then another. The fire is still small, but it is growing stronger. A quiet crackle joins the other sounds in the room. The fire begins to cast a warm, flickering light on the walls of our cell. The shadows dance and retreat. The cold grey light from the window now has a rival. The orange glow of the fire is a living thing. It pushes back the oppressive gloom. It makes our small stone box feel a little more like a home, a little less like a prison. I can feel the first tendrils of warmth reaching out, touching my face and hands. It is a welcome feeling, a comfort that goes deep into my bones. I add a few small pieces of charcoal to the growing flames. They will catch slowly, providing a steady, long-lasting heat. The fire is stable now. My work here is done. I sit back on my heels for a moment, watching the flames. Fire is a curious thing. It is a tool for warmth and light. It cooks our food, but in the world of the arena, fire is also a symbol of destruction, of chaos. Here, in our cell, it is a symbol of life, of survival. It is our small sun, the center of our morning ritual. Crixus comes to stand by the fire. He holds his large, scarred hands out to the flames, soaking in the warmth. The firelight plays across his face, highlighting the harsh angles and the old wounds. In this light, he looks older, more weary than he does in the harsh sun of the training yard. The firelight is softer, more forgiving. It shows the man, not the myth. He closes his eyes, and for a moment he seems almost peaceful. This is a rare sight. The peace never lasts long. His mind is always working, always planning, always reliving past fights and anticipating future ones. The small brazier is now the heart of the room. We both orbit it, drawn to its light and heat. It is a silent companion to our morning. The air in the cell begins to warm, the deep chill slowly retreating to the corners. The smell of burning wood and charcoal fills the room, a scent of domesticity that is so at odds with the purpose of this place. This small fire is an act of defiance. It is a declaration that even here, in the heart of the Ludius, there can be a moment of simple, human comfort. I watch him by the fire, his massive form silhouetted against the flames. I think of the sparrow. I wonder if the man who carved that small bird ever sat by a fire like this. Was it a hearth in a small home, in a life before this one? Did he carve it for a child, a wife? The questions flicker in my mind like the flames in the brazier. The secret I hold is not just the wooden bird itself. It is the life that the bird represents. It is the knowledge that this man, Crixus, the champion, was once someone else entirely. Someone who knew a world without walls, without the roar of the crowd demanding blood. This fire I have built does more than warm our bodies. It warms the secret. It gives me the space to think, to wonder, to piece together the fragments of a life I have only glimpsed. The flames consume the wood, turning it into heat and light and ash. And I wonder, what did the fires of the arena consume to create the man who stands before me now? What was lost? The smoke from the brazier rises a thin grey ribbon, carrying my unspoken questions up to the small window and out into the waking world. The warmth spreads through the room, a temporary shield against the cold reality of our lives. With the fire established, a gentle warmth now fills our small space. The next rhythm of the day begins. The preparation of the morning meal. It is a simple affair designed for function, not for pleasure. The food a gladiator eats is fuel. It is meant to build muscle, to provide stamina for the grueling training that lies ahead. There are no delicate flavors, no elaborate preparations. There is only substance. I move to a small wooden chest in the corner. This is our pantry. Inside, the contents are meager but carefully organized. There is a sack of barley, a small jug of olive oil, a cloth bag of dried figs, and a round of hard, dry cheese. This is the food of soldiers, of laborers, of men who live by the strength of their body. I measure out a portion of the barley into a small clay pot. My movements are economical, practiced. I do not waste a single grain. Waste is a luxury we cannot afford. I add water to the pot from the same pitcher I used earlier. I place the pot on a small grate that sits over the brazier. The flames lick at the bottom of the pot, and soon the water begins to simmer. A soft, bubbling sound fills the room. A comforting, domestic noise. The smell of the cooking barley begins to rise. A nutty, earthy aroma. It is the smell of sustenance, the smell of the day's energy being created. While the barley cooks, I prepare the rest of the meal. I take the round of cheese and, using a small, sharp knife, I cut 2 thick widths. The cheese is hard, and it takes some effort to draw the blade through it. It is a sheep's milk cheese, salty and strong. It will provide strength. I place the wedges on 2 simple wooden plates. Next, I take a handful of dried figs from their bag. They are dark and sticky. Their sweetness a small, welcome treat in a diet that is mostly savory and plain. I add a few figs to each plate. Crixus sits on a small stool near the fire, watching the flames. He is quiet, lost in his own thoughts. He does not hurry me. He does not complain. He accepts the routine of the morning as an unchangeable fact of his life. He trusts me to do my part. This trust is the foundation of our strange relationship. He is the master, and I am the servant. But in this small cell, we are 2 parts of a single machine, working together to meet the demands of the day. I check the barley. It has softened now, absorbing the water and swelling into a thick, warm porridge. It is ready. Using a cloth to protect my hands from the heat, I lift the pot from the brazier. I spoon the porridge onto the 2 plates, dividing it evenly. The final touch is a drizzle of olive oil over the top of the barley. The oil is green and fragrant, a small splash of richness. The meal is now complete. It is simple, but it is enough. It is what is required. I take 1 plate to Crixus. I hold it out to him with both hands, a gesture of respect. He takes it from me with a nod of thanks. He does not speak. He picks up his wooden spoon and begins to eat, his movements efficient and focused. He eats like he does everything else, with a powerful sense of purpose. He is fueling his body for the work to come. There is no joy in the act of eating, only necessity. I take my own plate and sit on my pallet on the other side of the room. I eat more slowly. I allow myself to savor the small pleasures of the meal. The warmth of the barley, the saltiness of the cheese, the sudden, intense sweetness of a fig. These are small things. But in this life, small things are all one has I watch him. I study the way he eats, the way he holds his spoon. His hands are a geography of violence. The knuckles are swollen, the fingers are covered in a network of pale, silvery scars. These are the hands that have held a sword, a shield, a trident. These are the hands that have taken lives in the arena. And yet, these are the same hands that I have seen, in the dead of night, hold a tiny, carved wooden sparrow with such impossible gentleness. It is a contradiction that I can never fully resolve in my mind. How can a man be both things at once? How can the brutal champion of the sands also be the man who secretly treasures such a delicate, hopeful object? This is the core of the mystery. This is the puzzle that occupies my thoughts during these quiet, routine moments. The meal continues in silence. The only sounds are the scrape of our spoons against the wooden plates and the soft crackle of the fire. The silence is not awkward. It is comfortable, familiar. We have spent countless mornings like this, sharing a meal without sharing a word. Our communication exists on a different level, in the shared understanding of our roles, in the predictability of our routine. He knows I will care for his needs, and I know he will face the challenges of the day with all the strength he possesses. He finishes his meal first. He always does. He places his empty plate on the floor beside him. He has eaten every last bit. He leans back, and a small sigh of contentment escapes him. It is one of the few unguarded sounds he ever makes. The food has done its work. The fuel has been delivered. His body is ready. He is now one step closer to being the Crixus the world expects him to be. I finish my own meal and gather the plates. I will glean them later, after he has gone to the training yard. For now, I place them to the side. The first phase of the morning is over. We have woken, we have warmed ourselves, and we have eaten. The cell feels more alive now, filled with the lingering smells of food and fire. The day is taking shape, its structure firm and predictable, and beneath it all, the secret of the sparrow rests in my mind, a quiet and persistent question. Every simple act, every shared silence, is another opportunity for me to observe, to understand the man who holds the other half of this unspoken story. The meal is finished, and a new phase of the morning begins. This is the part of the day that belongs to the tools of the trade. It is time to prepare the armor. Today is a training day, so he will not wear the full, ornate battle armor. He will use the simpler, sturdier training gear, but it must still be maintained with the same level of care. A weakness in the training gear can lead to injury, and an injury can mean the end of a career or a life. I start with the greaves. These are the pieces of armor that protect the shins from the ankle to the knee. They are made of bronze, hammered into a shape that follows the curve of a man's leg. They are heavy, solid things. I retrieve them from the corner where the armor is kept. They are cool to the touch. I carry them over to the small space of floor near the fire where the light is best. I sit on the floor, my legs crossed, and place the two greaves in my lap. One of them has a fresh dent near the top, a shallow scoop in the metal. It is from yesterday's training session, a blow from a wooden sword, delivered with force. I run my thumb over the dent. I can almost feel the impact. It is a reminder of the constant, casual violence of this life. Even in practice, the threat of real harm is always present. There is no room for mistakes. My tools for this task are simple. A pot of fine sand mixed with oil, a piece of soft leather, and a few clean linen cloths. I begin by applying a small amount of the oily sand paste to the surface of the first greave. The sand is a gentle abrasive designed to scrub away the grime and the small scratches of daily use. The oil helps to carry the sand and protects the metal from being damaged. I pick up the piece of soft leather and begin to rub the paste into the bronze. My movements are circular, rhythmic, and firm. It is a motion I have performed thousands of times. My arm knows the rhythm without my mind needing to command it. Around and around, a slow, steady polishing. The friction creates a tiny bit of warmth in the metal. The sound is a soft, shushing noise, a whisper of leather on bronze. It is a meditative sound, one that allows my mind to wander as my hands work. As I polish, I think about the purpose of these objects. These greaves have a single brutal purpose: to stop a weapon from shattering a man's leg. They are a barrier between flesh and steel. They have succeeded in this purpose many times. The surface of the metal is a history book of past battles, both real and practice. There are tiny nicks and deeper scratches. Each mark tells a story: a parried blow, a clumsy stumble, a desperate defense. I do not know the specific story of each mark, but I know the general narrative. It is a story of survival. Crixus does not pay attention to me. He is doing his own preparations. He is stretching, moving his powerful body through a series of slow, deliberate motions. He is waking up his muscles, preparing them for the violent exertion to come. We work in parallel, each in our own world, but our tasks are deeply connected. My work ensures his equipment will not fail him. His work ensures his body will not fail him. We are both tending to the machine of the gladiator. I continue my circular polishing, working my way over every inch of the greave's surface. The paste turns dark as it lifts the dirt and tarnish from the bronze. The smell of the oil is clean and sharp in the warm air of the cell. I am not just cleaning the armor, I am inspecting it. I am looking for any sign of weakness. A crack in the metal, a loose rivet on the leather straps that hold it in place. My eyes are as important as my hands in this task. His life can depend on a small detail that I might notice. This is a heavy responsibility, but I do not resent it. It gives me a sense of purpose. I am not a fighter. I do not have the strength or the temperament for the arena, but I play my part. I am the caretaker of the tools, the silent partner in the dance of combat. My victories are measured in the shine of a piece of armor, in a strap that holds firm, in a blade that does not break. I finish with the abrasive paste. Now I take a clean linen cloth and begin to wipe it all away. As I wipe, the true beauty of the bronze begins to emerge. The dull, tarnished surface gives way to a deep, lustrous shine. The metal glows with a warm, reddish-gold light, reflecting the flames from the brazier. It is a satisfying transformation. To take something dull and dirty and make it clean and bright, it is a small act of bringing order to a chaotic world. I run my hand over the now smooth surface. It is no longer just a piece of functional armor. It is a beautiful object. The curve of the metal is elegant, designed to fit the human form perfectly. The Romans, for all their brutality, had an eye for form and function. This greave is both a tool of war and a work of art. I set the first greave aside and pick up the second. I begin the process again from the start. The application of the paste, the rhythmic, circular polishing with the leather, the final wipe with the clean cloth. The repetition is not boring. It is calming. It is a ritual. It focuses the mind. In the steady rhythm of the work, I find a strange kind of peace. The world shrinks down to the small space around me, to the piece of metal in my hands, to the simple, repetitive task. As I polish, I think of the sparrow again. The contrast is so stark. The hard, cold, functional bronze in my hands, and the soft, warm, worn wood of the bird in my memory. One is an object of war, designed to protect in a world of violence. The other is an object of peace, a symbol of freedom, of a world without walls. How does Crixus reconcile these two things in his heart? Does the sparrow remind him of what he is fighting for? Or does it remind him of what he has lost? I do not have the answers, and I know I can never ask him. To speak of the sparrow would be to break the unspoken trust between us. It would be to reveal that I have seen a part of him that he keeps hidden from the entire world. So I keep my silence. I keep my secret. And I continue to polish his armor, making the tools of his violent trade shine in the firelight, all the while wondering about the small, fragile bird that represents his hidden, gentle soul. After the bronze of the greaves is polished to a warm glow, my attention turns to the leather. The armor is not just metal. It is a system of plates, straps, and buckles. The leather is as important as the bronze. If a strap breaks, the armor is useless. A greave that falls off in the middle of a fight is a death sentence. The leather must be kept strong and supple. It must be able to withstand sweat, stress, and the brutal talk of combat. I gather the pieces that require attention. The straps from the greaves, the thick belt that the training sword will hang from, and the bracers that protect the forearms. The leather is thick and dark, stained with sweat and time. It is stiff in the cool morning air. My task is to breathe life back into it, to make it flexible and resilient. My tool for this is a small pot of tallow, a thick, greasy substance made from animal fat. It has a heavy, waxy smell that is not entirely pleasant, but it is the smell of preservation. It is the smell of work that matters. I also have a few pieces of rough wool cloth. I dip a corner of the cloth into the tallow, scooping up a small, greasy amount. I start with the first strap from a greave. I hold it in my hand, feeling its texture. It is dry and hard. I begin to work the tallow into the leather, rubbing it in with firm, steady strokes. I work the grease deep into the pores of the hide. I bend the leather back and forth, working it with my hands to help it absorb the tallow. I can feel the change happening under my fingers. The leather begins to soften, to become more pliable. The color deepens from a dusty brown to a rich, dark chocolate. This is slow, patient work. I cannot rush it. Each strap must be treated with the same care. As I work, I think about the animal whose skin this once was. A bull, most likely, strong and powerful. Now, its hide serves another powerful creature, protecting him in his battles. There is a strange circle of life and death in this room. The fat of one animal preserving the hide of another, to protect the life of a man who deals in death. The world of the Ludas is full of these strange, brutal ironies. Crixus has finished his stretching. He is now sitting on his cot, his eyes closed. He is not sleeping, he is meditating. He is preparing his mind for the training yard. He retreats into a place inside himself where I cannot follow. He is building his focus, sharpening his will into a fine point. He is shutting out the world, with its distractions and its fears. All that exists for him in these moments is the thought of the fight, the feel of the sword in his hand, the dance of combat. Our work is similar in a way. He is preparing his mind, I am preparing his gear. We are both engaged in a ritual of readiness. The room is quiet again, filled only with the sound of the fire and the soft, greasy sound of my cloth rubbing against the leather. The smell of the tallow is strong now, mixing with the wood smoke from the brazier. It is a smell of pure function, of the practical world of work and survival. I work my way through all the straps for the greaves. I pay special attention to the areas around the buckle holes. This is where the leather is under the most stress and where it is most likely to crack or tear. I work extra tallow into these weak points, reinforcing them, giving them the flexibility they will need. I run the buckles back and forth, making sure they move freely and are not corroded. Everything must work perfectly. There is no margin for error. Next, I move on to the wide belt. It is a heavy piece of leather, almost as thick as my finger. It has to support the weight of a sword without sagging or twisting. I lay it out on the floor and begin to apply the tallow. The surface area is much larger, so the work takes longer. My hands are covered in the greasy substance now, but I do not mind. It is the feeling of getting a job done right. As I rub the tallow into the belt, my mind drifts. This belt has been around his waist in 100 fights. It has been soaked in his sweat. It has been spattered with his blood and the blood of his opponents. It is a silent witness to his history. It holds the memory of his victories and his near defeats. If this leather could speak, what stories would it tell? Would it speak of fear, of triumph, of the moment he thought he would not survive, but somehow did? I am the keeper of these objects, but I am not the keeper of their stories. Not the full stories. Anyway, I only see the aftermath. The dented armor, the torn tunic, the blood that needs to be scrubbed away. I piece together what I can from these fragments. But the truth of what happens on the sand, the emotional truth, belongs to him alone. And he is a man who does not share such things. This is why the sparrow is so important. It is the only piece of his personal history, his emotional history, that I have ever been able to touch. It is a story that is not written in scars and dents, but in smooth, worn wood. It is a story of a time before the belt and the sword. And it makes me wonder, does he ever think of that time when he straps this heavy belt around his waist? Does he feel the weight of what he has become? And does he miss the lightness of what he once was? I finish the belt and move on to the brace saws. They are simpler, smaller. The work goes quickly. Soon, all the leather is treated. It is all soft, supple, and dark with the nourishing fat. I take a clean, dry cloth and wipe off the excess tallow, leaving a soft, protective sheen on the surface. The leather now looks healthy, alive. It is ready for another day of punishment. I hang the straps, the belt, and the bracers on a wooden rack near the fire. The gentle heat will help the last of the tallow to soak in. The preparation of the armor is nearly complete. The bronze shines, and the leather is strong. I have done my part. I look at the finished work with a small sense of pride. It is a humble job, but I do it well. In a world of chaos and violence, my small corner is orderly and well maintained. It is the only control I have, and I hold on to it tightly. The armor is ready. The bronze glows, and the leather is supple. Now it is time for the weapon. Because today is a training day, Crixus will not use his gladius, his real battle-sharp sword. He will use a rudis, a wooden sword, for most of the drills. But he will also spend time practicing his forms with a real blade, a sword kept specifically for training. It is heavier than a wooden sword to build strength, but it is not sharpened to a razor's edge like a battle weapon. However, it must still have a point, and its edge must be clean and free of nicks. A dull or damaged training sword can teach bad habits. I retrieve the training sword from the weapon rack. It is a heavy, solid piece of iron. The blade is thick and strong, designed to withstand thousands of practice blows against shields and other swords. The hilt is simple, wrapped in leather for a secure grip. I can feel the weight of it in my hands. It is a balanced weight, but it is a weight of purpose. This is an object designed for one reason only. My tool for this task is a whetstone. It is a rectangular block of fine-grained stone, grey and smooth. It lives in a shallow wooden box, and I keep it moist with a little bit of water. A dry whetstone can be too harsh on the blade. I take the stone and the sword, and I sit on the floor, close to the fire. The light is good here. I need to be able to see the edge of the blade clearly. I lay the sword across my lap, the heavy blade resting on my thigh. I hold the hilt firmly in one hand. With the other, I pick up the whetstone. Sharpening a sword is not like sharpening a kitchen knife. It is not about creating a fine, delicate edge for slicing. It is about maintaining a strong, durable edge that can withstand impact. It is about removing the nicks and burrs that accumulate during practice. I place the whetstone against the blade near the hilt. I hold it at a precise angle. This is the most important part. The angle must be consistent. If the angle is too steep, the edge will be weak and will chip easily. If the angle is too shallow, the blade will not have a proper edge at all. I have spent years learning the correct angle, feeling it in my hands and my wrists. It is a knowledge that is not in my head, but in my muscles. I begin to draw the stone down the length of the blade, from the hilt to the point. I use a steady, even pressure. The sound is a quiet, grating hiss, a shishy-shi sound that is both rough and meditative. It is the sound of stone shaping steel. It is a sound that has echoed through armories and barracks for centuries. It is the sound of preparation for conflict. I repeat the motion again and again, down the blade, from hilt to point. My arm moves in a smooth, practiced arc. I am careful not to rush. This is a task that demands focus and patience. A slip of the hand could ruin the edge, or worse, cut me deeply. I respect the tool I am working on. I know what it is capable of. Crixus is watching me now. His meditation is over. He watches my hands as I work. He does not speak, but I can feel his eyes on me. He is judging my work. He is the master of this blade, and he needs to know that it is being cared for correctly. His life in the arena depends on the quality of his weapons. His life in the training yard depends on the quality of his practice weapons. He knows that a sword is not just a piece of metal, it is an extension of the warrior's arm, of his will. As I work, my mind is focused on the blade. I watch the edge as the stone passes over it. I can see the small imperfections, the tiny glinting burrs of metal being smoothed away. The edge is becoming a clean, uniform line. The steel begins to shine under the grinding of the stone. I can smell the faint, sharp scent of metal being worked, a smell like lightning and cold rock. This sword has a history. It has been used by other gladiators before. Crixus, it has been passed down. A tool of the loot. It has trained champions, and it has trained men who fell on their first day in the arena. It has felt the impact of 100 other swords, of 1,000 shields. It is a silent teacher, instructing men in the deadly art of combat, and I am its caretaker. I finish one side of the blade. I turn it over and begin on the other side. The process is the same angle, the same pressure, the same slow, deliberate strokes from hilt to point. The hissing sound of the whetstone continues, a steady rhythm in the quiet room. It is a sound of focus, of discipline. These are the qualities that a gladiator must have. These are the qualities that even a servant must have, if he is to do his job well. I think about the difference between this sword and a real one. A real gladius is sharpened to a terrifying degree. Its edge is like a razor. Its only purpose is to cut flesh, to end a life. This sword is different. Its purpose is to teach, to train, to prepare. It is a tool of learning, not of killing. And yet, it is still a dangerous object. It could still cause great harm if used incorrectly or with malice. The line between training and true combat is a thin one. I reach the point of the sword. I give it special attention, running the stone carefully around its tip. The point must be sharp. Many fighting techniques rely on the thrust, not the slash. A blunted point would make this practice useless. I work until the point is clean and well defined. Finally, I am done. I run my thumb very carefully along the flat of the blade near the edge. I do not touch the edge itself. I can feel that it is smooth, even, and free of any imperfections. The sword is ready. I take a clean, oily cloth and wipe the blade down, removing the fine metal dust and water from the sharpening process. The oil will protect the iron from rust. The blade now has a dull, business-like sheen. It is not the bright shine of polished bronze armor. It is the muted, dangerous gleam of sharpened steel. I stand up and present the sword to Crixus, holding it by the blade with the hilt offered to him. This is the proper way. He takes it from me. His hand closes around the leather-wrapped grip. He tests the weight of it, the balance. He makes a few slow, graceful cuts through the air. The sword whispers as it moves. He is satisfied. He gives me another one of his small, clipped nods. No words are needed. The work is good. The tool is ready. And now, the warrior is ready too. The preparations are complete. The fire in the brazier has burned down to a bed of glowing coals, providing a steady, gentle heat. The smell of cooked barley, oiled leather, and sharpened steel hangs in the air. It is the scent of our morning, the perfume of our life. Crixus is fully dressed in his training tunic and leggings. He straps on the greaves, the braces, and the heavy belt. I help him, pulling the leather straps tight, making sure the buckles are secure. The armor settles onto his body as if it were a second skin. He is transforming, shedding the quiet man who sat by the fire and becoming the gladiator. He takes the training sword, its weight familiar in his hand. He gives it a single, expert twirl. He is ready. It is time to go to the training yard, the central courtyard of the Ludiers, where the men spend their days turning their bodies into weapons. I will accompany him. My job is not finished. In the yard, I will be his support. I will bring him water, tend to his gear, and watch. I am always watching. We open the heavy wooden door of our cell. The corridor outside is a hive of activity. The Ludes is fully awake now. Other gladiators and their servants are emerging from their cells. The air is filled with the low murmur of voices, the clank of armor, the shuffle of many feet on the stone floor. The light is dim, coming from torches set in brackets on the walls. The flames cast long, dancing shadows. It feels like we are in the belly of some great beast. We join the river of men flowing down the corridor. No one shoves, no one speaks loudly. There is a discipline here, an order born of routine and the strict authority of the trainers. We are all moving towards the same destination, drawn by the same purpose. To train, to sweat, to bleed, to become stronger. To survive. Crixus walks with a purpose. His stride is long and confident. Men move out of his way. They give him a wide berth. He has earned this respect. He is a champion, a veteran. He has walked this path 1,000 times. He does not look at the other men. His gaze is fixed straight ahead. His mind is already on the sand of the yard. I walk a few paces behind him, to his right. This is my place. I carry a wooden bucket with a skin of fresh water, a few clean cloths, and a small stool. I am his shadow, his mobile support station. I watch everything. I watch the way the other gladiators look at him. Some look with admiration, with respect. Others look with envy, with a flicker of challenge in their eyes. Every man in this school wants to be. They want his fame, his skill, his position at the top. This means that he is always a target. He has no friends here, only rivals. We pass the forge. The clang of the hammer is much louder now. Vulcanus, the blacksmith, is working at his anvil. Sparks fly as he hammers a piece of glowing hot iron. The heat from the forge is intense, a blast of hot air that hits us as we pass. He is the maker of our tools, the master of the fire and steel that define our lives. He gives a grunt of acknowledgement as Crixus passes, but does not stop his work. We pass the infirmary. The air here smells different. It smells of herbs, of vinegar used for cleaning wounds, and the faint, sickly sweet smell of infection. This is the place where the mistakes of the training yard are paid for. A broken bone, a deep cut, a twisted ankle. It is a constant reminder of the fragility of the human body, even a body as strong as a gladiator's. We all know that we are only one bad step, one missed parry, away from ending up on one of those cots. The corridor opens up, and we step out into the daylight. The training yard is a vast, open square of packed earth and sand. It is surrounded on all four sides by the buildings of the Ludes, the barracks, the kitchens, the armory. The morning sun is climbing in the sky, but the air is still cool. The yard is already filled with men. They are organized into groups, each led by a trainer, a doctor. The sounds of the yard wash over us. The rhythmic thud of wooden swords hitting shields. The grunts of exertion as men lift heavy stones. The sharp, commanding shouts of the doctors. It is a symphony of effort and controlled violence. This is the place where gladiators are made, not in the arena. The arena is where they are tested. The making happens here, day after day, in the sweat and the dust. Crixus does not join a group. As a champion, he trains on his own, or with a specific sparring partner chosen by the head trainer. He walks to his accustomed spot at the edge of the yard. It is an area that is implicitly his. No one else uses it. He has earned this privilege. I place the stool and the water bucket down. I am now at my post. My job is to be ready. I will watch him train, and I will anticipate his needs. If he needs water, I will have it ready. If a strap on his armor comes loose, I will be there to fix it. My focus is entirely on him. He begins his warm-up. He does not start with the sword. He starts with his body. He moves through a series of exercises that are a combination of stretching and strength training. He moves with a grace that is surprising in a man of his size. Every movement is precise, efficient. There is no wasted energy. He is a master of his own body. He knows its limits, its strengths, and its weaknesses. I watch him, and I see the dedication. This is why he is a champion. It is not just his natural strength. It is this relentless, daily work. The willingness to push his body to the point of exhaustion, and then to push it further. He does not complain. He does not shirk the work. He embraces it. It is the foundation of his survival. The sun climbs higher, and the dust of the yard begins to rise. It hangs in the air, a golden haze in the morning light. It coats everything, gets into your mouth and your nose. It is the taste of this place, the taste of effort. The day of training has truly begun, and as Crixus moves, a powerful, solitary figure against the backdrop of the busy yard, I think of the sparrow. I wonder if it dreams of flying, even as it is hidden away in the dark. Just as this man, this gladiator, dreams of something more, even as he dedicates his entire being to the dance of death. The training yard is now a cauldron of activity. The sun is higher in the sky, beating down on the packed earth. The air is thick with dust, sweat, and the sounds of struggle. Crixus has finished his warm-up. His body is loose, his muscles are warm. Now, the real work begins. The head trainer, a stern, grey-haired man named Marcellus, approaches. With him is another gladiator, a younger, powerfully built man named Tiber. Tiber will be the sparring partner for Crixus today. Tiber is ambitious. I can see it in his eyes. He looks at Crixus with a mixture of respect and hunger. To spar with the champion is an honor, but it is also an opportunity. An opportunity to test himself, to learn, and perhaps to impress the trainers. He carries a wooden sword and a heavy wooden shield. Crixus will use his training sword, the one I just sharpened. He prefers the weight of real steel in his hand. They face each other in the center of their designated space. They do not speak. They circle each other slowly, their eyes locked. It is a dance, a prelude to the violence to come. They are measuring each other, looking for an opening, for a sign of weakness. The other gladiators in the yard give them a wide berth. When the champion spars, everyone pays attention. It is a lesson in itself. From my position on the sidelines, I watch every detail. I watch the way Crixus holds his body. He is perfectly balanced, his weight distributed evenly. He is relaxed, but ready to explode into motion at any moment. His sword is held loosely, a natural extension of his arm. He is a picture of controlled power. The first move is a blur. Tiber lunges forward, his wooden sword, a fast, aggressive thrust. Crixus does not retreat. He shifts his weight, turning his body slightly. The wooden sword slides past him, missing by a fraction of an inch. At the same time, the training sword of Crixus comes up in a fluid arc, tapping Tiber lightly on the ribs. It is not a hard blow, but it is a point. The entire exchange takes less than a second. Tiber grunts in frustration and jumps back. Crixus does not press the advantage. He returns to his ready stance, his face calm, unreadable. This is not a real fight. It is a lesson. Crixus is teaching. He is showing Tiber the difference between youthful aggression and veteran skill. They begin again. This time, the exchange is longer. The sound of steel on wood echoes through the yard. Clack, thump, clack. Tiber attacks with a flurry of blows, trying to overwhelm Crixus with speed and power. Crixus parries each blow with effortless ease. His sword seems to be everywhere at once, a wall of steel that Tiber cannot penetrate. He uses his feet, moving in and out, controlling the distance, controlling the fight. My job is to watch him, but I also watch his gear. I watch the way the greaves move with his legs. I watch the belt, making sure the sword scabbard is not twisting or getting in the way. I watch the braces on his arms, ensuring they are deflecting the blows as they should. Everything is holding. My work was good. The sun is getting hotter now. Sweat is pouring from both men. It drips from their faces, soaking their tunics. The dust of the yard kicks up around their feet, coating their legs and arms in a fine brown powder. This is the grind, the hard, repetitive, exhausting work that forges a gladiator. Marcellus, the trainer, watches with his arms crossed. He does not interfere. He lets them work. He is studying both men. He is assessing the progress of Tiber, and he is watching Crixus, ensuring that the champion is not becoming lazy, not developing any bad habits. In this world, complacency is a fatal disease. The sparring continues for what feels like an eternity. The pace does not slow. Crixus pushes Tiber, forcing him to work, forcing him to think. He will disarm him, tapping the wooden sword out of his hand with a clever twist of his own blade. Then he will wait for Tiber to pick it up and begin again. He is not trying to humiliate the younger man. He is trying to make him better. A stronger Ludius is a better Ludius for everyone. Better training partners make for better gladiators. I can see the fatigue setting in on Tiber. His movements are becoming slower, more predictable. His attacks are becoming sloppy. Crixus, on the other hand, seems tireless. He is a machine. built for this. His breathing is deep and controlled. His movements are still precise, still economical. This is the difference. This is what years of experience and relentless training create. I think about the sparrow, the man I am watching now. This perfect engine of combat seems to have no connection to the man who holds a small wooden bird in the dark. It is like he is two different people. One is a public figure, a performance of strength and invincibility. The other is a private man, a secret self that is hidden from the world. I wonder if this relentless training is a way for him to forget, a way to push all other thoughts from his mind. When you are in a fight, even a practice fight, you cannot think of the past. You cannot think of a life before the arena. You can only think of the present moment. The position of your opponent's sword, the shifting of his weight, the look in his eyes. It is a form of meditation, a brutal form of escape. Perhaps the dust of the arena is a curtain that he pulls between his two selves. Finally, Marcellus steps forward. He claps his hands once, a sharp, loud sound. Enough. The sparring stops instantly. Tiber is leaning on his shield, his chest heaving as he gasps for air. Crixus is barely breathing hard. He lowers his sword and gives Tiber a nod of respect. The younger man, exhausted as he is, manages to nod back. The lesson is over. Crixus walks towards me. His face is a mask of sweat and dust. His eyes, however, are clear and bright. They are alive with the energy of the fight. This is his element. This is the world he understands. I have the water skin ready for him. The next part of my job is about to begin. Tending to the warrior after his battle. As Crixus approaches, I am already moving. My purpose shifts from passive observation to active service. He is covered in a mixture of sweat and dust, a grimy layer that clings to his skin. He is thirsty and hot. My job is to provide relief, to help him recover from the intense exertion of the sparring session. I unstopper the water skin. The water inside is no longer cold, but it is wet, and that is what matters. He reaches me and stops, his chest rising and falling in a deep, steady rhythm. He does not need to ask for water. I am already holding the skin out to him. He takes it in his large hand and lifts it to his lips. He drinks deeply, his throat working. A small amount of water spills and runs down his chin, carving a clean path through the dust on his neck. He drinks for a long time, replacing the fluid his body has lost. When he is finished, he hands the skin back to me. Then he does something I have seen him do 100 times. He takes the remaining water and pours it over his own head. The water cascades down his face and hair, washing away the sweat and the grime. He shakes his head like a dog, sending drops flying. A deep, guttural sound of satisfaction rumbles in his chest. It is a moment of pure, physical relief. My next task is to use the cloths I brought. I take a clean, dry linen cloth and hand it to him. He uses it to wipe his face and neck, scrubbing away the last of the dirt. He hands the damp cloth back to me, and I give him another. He uses this one to wipe down his arms and his chest. His movements are rough, efficient. He is cleaning the machine, preparing it for the next phase of the day. While he is doing this, I kneel down to inspect his armor. This is crucial. The sparring session was intense. I need to check for any new damage, any straps that may have been loosened by the constant, violent motion. I run my hands over the greaves. The dent from yesterday is still there, but there are new scratches on the surface. Testament to Tiber's relentless, if ineffective, attacks. I check the buckles. They are still tight. My work has held. I move to his braces. I check the leather and the ties. Everything is secure. He has finished wiping himself down. He stands patiently, allowing me to do my work. This is part of the routine. He trusts my eyes and my hands. He knows that I am as invested in the integrity of his gear as he is. Our fates, in many ways, are tied together. His success is my survival. I finish my inspection. The gear is sound. It has performed its function perfectly. There is nothing that needs immediate repair. I give a small nod, my own signal to him that everything is in order. He responds with his own nod. We have a language of gestures, an understanding that transcends words. In the noise and chaos of the Ludice, our silent communication is an island of efficiency and trust. He is not done for the day. This was just the first part of his training. After a short rest, he will move on to strength and endurance work. But for now, he has a few moments of recovery. He sits down on the small wooden stool that I brought for him. He leans forward, resting his forearms on his knees. He stares at the ground, his breathing slowing, his body entering a state of active rest. I stand nearby, a silent guardian. I do not speak. My presence is meant to be a comfort, a sign that everything is being taken care of so he can focus entirely on his own recovery. I watch the other gladiators in the yard. They are still at their drills. The sounds of their work, the shouts and the thuds, are a constant backdrop to our quiet moment. I look at Crixus sitting on the stool. In this moment, he looks vulnerable. The invincible champion is gone, replaced by a tired man, caked in dust, his body pushed to its limits. This is the side of him that the crowds in the arena never see. They do not see the endless hours of work, the pain, the exhaustion. They only see the final product. The glorious, victorious gladiator. They do not understand the price that is paid for that glory. My mind, as it so often does, returns to the secret. The sparrow. It seems so out of place in this world of sweat, dust, and brute force. It is a symbol of something delicate, something gentle. What does it mean to him? Is it a memory of a person, a place, a time in his life when he was not a weapon, but just a man? Perhaps that is why he holds on to it, to remind himself that there is a part of him that is not owned by the arena, that is not defined by the sword, a small, secret core of his being that is still free. A soul that, like a bird, still remembers how to fly, even if its body is caged. This thought settles in my mind, and it feels right. It feels true. The sparrow is not a memory of what was lost. It is a promise of what still remains, hidden deep inside. This realization changes the way I see him. I am not just tending to a gladiator, a master. I am tending to a man who is engaged in a secret, internal struggle. A struggle to preserve a small piece of his own humanity in a world that tries every day to strip it away. And in my own small way, by doing my job well, by providing him with this quiet, stable support, I am helping him I am helping him guard his secret. His rest is over. He pushes himself to his feet. The look of weariness is gone, replaced once again by focus and determination. He gives me a look. It is time for the next phase of his training. He will go to the area where heavy stones and logs are used for lifting. My job here is done for now. I will gather our things and take them back to the cell to be cleaned and prepared for tomorrow. I will clean the dust from his armor, and I will think about the sparrow, and the man who carries the weight of 2 worlds on his shoulders. I have returned to the cell. The air inside is still and warm from the embers in the brazier. It is quiet here, a stark contrast to the noise and energy of the training yard. Crixus will be busy with his strength training for the next hour or 2. This time is my own. I have my own set of tasks to complete, my own rhythm of work. The life of a servant is a continuous loop of preparation, maintenance, and cleaning. My first task is to deal with the training gear. I carefully wipe down the greaves and braces, removing the fresh layer of dust they have acquired. I check the leather straps again, more closely this time, looking for any signs of stretching or fraying that I might have missed in the yard. Everything seems to be in good order. I place the armor back in its designated corner, ready for tomorrow. Next, I turn my attention to his tunic. The one he wore during the sparring session is soaked with sweat and stained with dust. I will wash it later with the rest of our laundry. But his spare training tunic, the one he wore yesterday, has a small tear in the shoulder seam. It is not a large tear, but it must be mended. A small tear can easily become a large one during the stress of training. It is another small detail that cannot be overlooked. I retrieve my sewing kit. It is a small leather roll that contains a few iron needles, a spool of thick linen thread, and a small, sharp knife. These are my tools. They are as important to my job as the whetstone and the polishing cloths. To be a good servant, one must be versatile. One must be a cleaner, an armorer, a cook, and a tailor. I sit on my pallet, where the light from the small window is best. I spread the tunic across my lap. The fabric is rough, homespun linen. It is not a fabric of comfort or luxury. It is a fabric of pure function, designed to be durable and to absorb sweat. The tear is right at the seam where the sleeve joins the body of the tunic. The stitches have come undone, probably from a sudden, powerful movement. I thread my needle. This is a delicate task that requires a steady hand and good eyesight. I have done it so many times that my fingers perform the action without conscious thought. I make a small, strong knot at the end of the thread. I am now ready to begin the work of repair. I start my stitches just before the tear begins to reinforce the existing seam. I push the needle through the tough fabric. It makes a small popping sound as it pierces the cloth. I pull the thread through, and then I make the next stitch, and the next. My stitches are small, even, and strong. This is not decorative sewing. This is structural repair. The seam must be as strong or stronger than it was before. As I work, my mind settles into the rhythm of the task. In, out, push, pull. The needle becomes an extension of my fingers. The world shrinks down to the small area of cloth in my lap. This is a peaceful task. It is quiet, focused, and constructive. I am not cleaning away dirt or polishing away tarnish. I am creating something. I am making something whole again. I think about the nature of mending. We spend so much of our lives mending things. Mending clothes, mending armor, mending our bodies with salves and bandages. We are in a constant battle against entropy, against the tendency of things to fall apart, to break down, to decay. My entire job is a form of mending. I am trying to hold together the small world of my master, to keep it in good order, so that he can face the larger, more chaotic world outside. The thread I am using is a similar color to the tunic, but not an exact match. If you look closely, you will be able to see my repair. A faint line of slightly darker stitches. I do not mind this. The repair is a part of the tunic's history now. It is a scar, just like the scars on the bronze armor and the scars on the skin of Crixus. These marks are not signs of weakness. They are signs of survival. They are proof that something was broken, and then it was fixed. It endured. This tunic has been mended many times before. I can see the work of other servants, in other threads, in other seams. This garment has been worn by other men. It belongs to the Ludes, not to any one person. We are all temporary custodians of these objects. We use them, we care for them, and then we pass them on. It is a humbling thought. It reminds me that my own role here is temporary. I am just one small thread in a much larger tapestry. My mind turns to the sparrow. The small wooden bird is not a mended object. It is whole. It is worn smooth by time and touch, but it is not broken. It has survived intact. This seems significant. In a world of broken things, it is a symbol of something that has lasted. A memory, a feeling, a hope. Perhaps this is why it is so precious to him. It represents a part of his life that was not shattered by the arena. A part of himself that does not need to be mended because it was never broken. I finished the last stitch. The tear is gone. The seam is strong and secure. I knot the thread tightly and snip the end with my small knife. I run my fingers over the repair. It is a solid, sturdy line of stitches. It will hold. I fold the tunic neatly and place it on his cot. It is ready for him to wear tomorrow. I have taken something that was damaged, and I have made it useful again. It is a small victory, but it is a victory nonetheless. It gives me a sense of satisfaction, of quiet pride. In my own way, I am a warrior too. My battles are fought with a needle and thread, with a polishing cloth, with a whetstone. My enemy is chaos and decay, and today, in this small way, I have one. I look around the cell. It is clean, it is orderly. The armor is prepared. The clothes are mended. The fire is a warm, glowing bed of coal. For this brief moment, everything is in its proper place. Everything is as it should be. This peace will not last. Soon Crixus will return, and the cycle will begin again. But for now, I can enjoy this quiet moment of order, this small sanctuary that I have created with my own 2 hands. The sun is now at its highest point in the sky. This marks the midday break. Training in the yard ceases. The relentless noise of clashing weapons and shouting trainers fades away, replaced by a lower hum of conversation and the clatter of plates from the mess hall. It is a time for food and for a brief, precious period of rest before the afternoon training session begins. Crixus returns to the cell. He moves more slowly than he did this morning. His body is tired from the hours of strenuous work. His strength training involved lifting heavy stones, carrying logs, and other brutal exercises designed to build raw power. He is covered in a fresh layer of sweat and dust. The physical cost of his profession is written on his body. He does not speak as he enters. He simply goes to the water basin and begins the ritual of washing, just as he did this morning. He cleans the grime from his face, neck, and arms. The water offers a moment of cool relief from the oppressive heat of the day. I stand by, ready to hand him a fresh cloth. Our morning routine is mirrored in this midday ritual. The patterns of our life are deep and predictable. After he has washed, it is time for the midday meal. It is heartier than the morning porridge. Today, it is a thick stew of beans and lentils, accompanied by a piece of coarse, dark bread. I collected our portions from the communal kitchen while he was finishing his training. The food of the gladiators is not inspiring, but it is plentiful and full of the energy the men need to sustain their body. I serve him his meal. He sits on his stool by the fire and eats with the same focused intensity as he did this morning. He is replenishing his strength, rebuilding the energy he has expended. I take my own portion and sit on my pallet. We eat in our customary silence. This silence is a form of rest in itself, a rest from the constant demands and noise of the outside world. Our cell is a refuge, a small pocket of quiet in the bustling life of the Gladiator school. As I eat, I allow my own body to relax. The morning was busy, filled with my own physical tasks, polishing, sharpening, mending. Now, I have a moment to be still. I savor the warmth of the stew and the rough texture of the bread. I focus on these simple physical sensations. It is a way of grounding myself, of bringing my awareness into the present moment. In a life of servitude, it is easy to feel like you are invisible, a ghost. These moments of quiet mindfulness are a way of reminding myself that I am here, that I exist. After we finish eating, Crixus lies down on his cot. He does not sleep, he simply rests. He lies on his back, his hands clasped behind his head, and stares up at the stone ceiling. His body is still, but I know his mind is not. He is likely replaying the morning's sparring session in his head, analyzing his own movements and the mistakes of his opponent. He is always thinking, always strategizing. The mind of a champion never truly rests. This is my favorite time of the day, with this quiet hour when the whole ludus seems to hold its breath. It is a time for reflection. I look at the man resting on the cot, and I see the immense discipline it takes to live his life. The physical discipline to train his body to the peak of its ability. The mental discipline to face fear and violence every day. The emotional discipline to keep his own feelings, his own history, locked away from the world. And I think my own life requires a different kind of discipline. The discipline of patience. The discipline of observation. The discipline of silence. I must anticipate needs before they are spoken. I must see everything and say nothing. I must be a constant, reliable presence, a steady rock in his turbulent world. My role is less glorious, but it requires its own form of strength. I think about the world outside these walls. The city of Rome. I can sometimes hear the faint sounds of it if the wind is right. The rumble of carts on stone roads, the distant shouts of merchants in the forum. It feels like another world, a world of freedom and choice that is so different from our own. I have not been outside the walls of the Ludas in years. This is my entire world now. Do I miss the outside world? Sometimes I miss the simple things. The feeling of walking down a street without a destination. The sight of a child playing, the smell of bread baking in a public oven. But I have learned to find a different kind of freedom here. A freedom in the mastery of my work. A freedom in the order I create. And a strange, secret freedom in my knowledge of the sparrow. Knowing his secret gives me a connection to him that no one else has. Not the trainers, not the other gladiators, not the crowds who cheer his name. It is a silent bond, a shared piece of humanity that exists only between the two of us, even though he is unaware of it. It elevates my role from simple servitude to something more. I am not just the keeper of his armor. I am the keeper of his story. The quiet hour buzzes. The sounds from the yard begin to pick up again as men finish their meals and prepare for the afternoon session. The rest is over. Crixus senses the change. He sits up, swinging his legs over the side of the cot. The look of restfulness is gone, replaced by the familiar mask of focus. He stands and begins to stretch, preparing his body once again for the work to come. The afternoon training will be different. It will focus on specific techniques, on weapon drills, on practicing the choreographed moves that are so important in the staged combats of the arena. It requires less raw power and more precision. I stand up as well. My own period of rest is over. I gather our empty plates. I will take them to be cleaned. Then I will return and I will wait. I will wait for him to need me again. My day is a cycle of work and waiting. And in the waiting, I watch, and I think, and I piece together the puzzle of the man I serve. The man of steel and the man of the sparrow. The midday rest is a pause in the story. A quiet chapter that gives meaning to all the noisy ones. The afternoon training session is over. The sun is lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the training yard. Crixus returns to the cell for the second time today. He moves with a controlled stiffness. The long day of brutal physical exertion has taken its toll. His muscles are sore and old injuries are making themselves known. His body is a finely tuned instrument, but it is an instrument that is played very hard. It requires constant maintenance and repair. My next task is to prepare a poultice for his aches and pains. This is a part of our evening ritual, a form of medicine that is both practical and comforting. I have a small wooden box where I keep my herbs and supplies. It contains dried leaves, roots, and flowers, each with its own specific purpose. I have learned the art of herbal remedies from other servants and from my own trial and error over the years. I open the box. The combined scent of the dried herbs is powerful, a mixture of earthy, sweet, and bitter smells. I select what I need for tonight's mixture. I take a handful of comfrey leaves, known for their ability to soothe sore muscles and mend tissues. I add some arnica flowers, which are good for bruises and swelling. Finally, I add a piece of willow bark, a natural remedy for pain. I place the herbs into a small stone mortar. I take the pestle, a heavy, smooth stone, and I begin to grind the dried plants. The work is rhythmic and requires a firm, steady hand. I crush the leaves, flowers and bark, breaking them down, releasing their medicinal properties. As I grind, the scents become even stronger, filling our small cell with the aroma of natural healing. It is a clean, wholesome smell that pushes back against the ever-present odors of sweat and stale air. This is another of my quiet, meditative tasks. The repetitive motion of the pestle, the changing texture of the herbs as they become a fine powder, the release of the potent scents. It is a task that connects me to the earth, to the world of growing things. It feels ancient, this act of turning plants into medicine. It is a knowledge passed down through generations. Crixus is sitting on his stool, his back to me. He has removed his tunic. His back is a landscape of muscle and scars, old wounds from the arena, pale white lines against his sun-darkened skin. He is silent, waiting patiently for me to finish my preparations. He is placing his trust in me, in my knowledge, to bring him some relief from his pain. This trust is not something I take lightly. Once the herbs are ground into a fine powder, I add a small amount of hot water from a kettle that has been warming by the fire. I stir the mixture with a wooden spoon. It transforms into a thick, dark green paste. The poultice is ready. I also have several long strips of clean linen cloth ready to be used as bandages. I approach him with the warm bowl in my hands. I stand behind him. "Ready," I say. It is one of the few times I speak to him directly. He grunts in response. I dip my fingers into the warm paste. It is thick and slightly gritty. I begin to apply it to his shoulders and back. I spread the poultice evenly over the areas where his muscles are tightest, where the old injuries ache the most. My touch is gentle but firm. I can feel the knots of tension in his muscles under my fingertips. I work the paste into his skin, a slow and deliberate massage. This is the most direct physical contact I ever have with him. It is a strange intimacy. I am a servant, and he is a master. We are separated by a vast social gulf. Yet, in this moment, that gulf disappears. There are only two people in a quiet room. One is in pain, and the other is trying to heal that pain. My hands are reading the story of his body, the story written in scars and tight muscles. The warmth of the poultice and the gentle pressure of my hands begin to work. I can feel the muscles under my fingers start to relax, to release their tension. It is a slow, gradual process. He lets out a low sigh, a sound of release. The pain is beginning to recede. As I work, I think about the nature of pain. It is a constant companion in the life of a gladiator. They live with it, they train through it, they fight in spite of it. They are taught to ignore it, to treat it as a weakness. But the body does not forget. The pain is always there, a reminder of the price of their profession. My small act of preparing and applying this poultice is an acknowledgement of his pain. It is a way of saying, without words, that his suffering is seen. I wonder if the man who carved the sparrow ever felt this kind of pain. Perhaps he was a farmer, his body sore from a long day of work in the fields, or a craftsman, his hands aching from his tools. The pain would have been different, the pain of honest labor, not the pain of structured violence. But pain is a universal human experience. It connects us all. Perhaps when Crixus holds the small wooden bird, he is not just remembering a person or a place. Perhaps he is remembering a time when his pain was simpler. I finish applying the paste. His entire back and shoulders are covered in the dark green mixture. Now, I take the linen strips and I begin to wrap them around his torso and over his shoulders. I wrap them snugly, but not too tightly. The bandages will hold the poultice in place, allowing it to work its magic for several hours. They will also provide a gentle, supportive pressure to his sore muscles. My work is done. The ritual of healing is complete. Crixus remained seated for a few more moments, allowing the warmth to seep deep into his body. The cell is filled with the strong, clean scent of the herbs. It is the smell of care, of restoration. He finally stands up. He moves more easily now, his stiffness lessened. He turns and looks at me. For a brief second, his eyes meet mine. And in that moment, I see something other than the gladiator. I see a flicker of gratitude. It is a fleeting expression, gone as quickly as it came. But I saw it. He does not need to say the words. I understand. He puts on a clean, loose tunic over the bandages. The day is winding down. The hardest work is behind us. Now, all that is left is the evening meal, and then the long, quiet hours of the night. My simple act of preparing a poultice has helped to mend his body, and in doing so, it has reinforced the silent, invisible bond that connects us. As twilight descends, a different mood settles over the ludus. The sounds of training are replaced by the lower, more relaxed sounds of men at the end of their day. The light from the setting sun paints the sky in shades of orange and purple. A beautiful sight visible only through the small, high window of our cell. Inside, the fire in the brazier provides a warm, steady glow, pushing back the encroaching shadows. It is time for the final meal of the day. The evening meal is the largest and most important. It is designed to replenish the body after the grueling day and to provide the nutrients needed to repair muscle and build strength. I have already collected our portions from the kitchens. Tonight we have roasted meat, a small piece for each of us, along with a thick porridge made from svelte and a side of cooked greens. It is a simple but substantial meal. I serve Crixus first, as always. I place the wooden plate before him on the small table. The smell of the roasted meat is rich and savory. It is a welcome smell after a long day of bland and functional food. Meat is a luxury, a reward for the hard work of the day. He looks at the food, and I can see a flicker of simple, human pleasure in his eyes. Even a champion can appreciate a good meal. I take my own plate and sit in my usual spot. We eat in a comfortable silence, a silence that has become the backdrop to our shared life. The only sounds are the crackle of the fire and the soft sounds of our eating. The light from the fire dances on the walls, making the small space feel cozy, almost like a real home. In these moments, it is possible to forget that we are in a gladiator school, a place of profound and constant violence. Tonight, however, the silence is different. It feels less like an absence of words and more like a space waiting to be filled. Crixus eats more slowly than usual. He seems contemplative, his gaze often drifting to the fire. There is something on his mind. I do not pry. I continue to eat my own meal, maintaining my role as a quiet, unobtrusive presence. If he wishes to speak, he will. He finishes his meat and pushes the plate away slightly. He looks into the fire for a long time. The flames are reflected in his dark eyes. Then he speaks. His voice is low, rough from disuse. "The boy, Tiber," he says. "He is strong. I am surprised. Crixus rarely speaks of other gladiators, and almost never offers an opinion on their skills." I stop eating and look at him, waiting. I simply nod to show that I am listening. "He has the fire," Crixus continues, his eyes still on the flames. "He attacks without fear, but he is predictable. His anger controls him. He leaves himself open. He is analyzing the morning's sparring session. He is breaking it down, not for my benefit, but for his own. He is thinking aloud, processing his thoughts. I am simply a witness to this process. Fear is a tool," he says, and this time he looks at me directly. "The crowd thinks we feel no fear. They are fools. A man with no fear is a man who is already dead. Fear keeps you sharp. It makes you check your armor twice. It makes you watch your opponent's feet, not just his sword. Anger. Anger is a storm. It can give you strength, but it blinds you. You cannot see the spear until it is already in your chest. He is giving me a lesson in the philosophy of combat, the philosophy of survival that he has learned through years of blood and sand. I do not know why he has chosen to share this with me tonight. Perhaps the long, hard day has opened a small crack in his wall of silence. Perhaps he simply needs to say the words aloud to another person. I listen with my full attention. This is a rare gift, this glimpse into his mind. I am learning more about him in these few sentences than I have in months of silent observation. I am seeing the intelligence behind the brute force, the tactical mind that makes him a champion. He is not just a mountain of muscle. He is a thinker, a strategist. I was like him once, he says, his voice softer now, almost a whisper. Young, full of fire. I thought strength was enough. I learned otherwise. The hard way. He unconsciously touches a long, pale scar on his forearm. A memory of a lesson learned. A memory written on his skin. He falls silent again, lost in that memory. The room is quiet, except for the fire. I do not break the silence. I let him have his moment. I am starting to understand something profound. His silence is not a sign of emptiness. It is a sign of fullness. His mind is so full of memories, of lessons, of ghosts from the arena, that there is no room for idle chatter. He only speaks when something truly needs to be said. This conversation, as one-sided as it is, deepens my understanding of the sparrow. The sparrow is not just a link to his past. It is a symbol of the part of him that is not a gladiator. The part that understands things other than combat. The part that knows about gentleness and freedom and perhaps love. He lives a life of brutal pragmatism, where fear is a tool and anger is a weakness. But in the dark, he holds on to an object that represents none of those things. It represents the opposite. It is his balance. It is what keeps the gladiator from consuming the man entirely. He finally looks away from the fire. The moment has passed. He picks up his plate and finishes the last of his porridge. The wall of silence is back in place. But something has changed. The silence between us is different now. It is richer. It is filled with the echo of his words. I finish my own meal. The food has grown cold, but I do not mind. I have been nourished by something more than food tonight. I have been given a piece of his story, a piece of his soul. I gather the plates to be cleaned. The evening ritual will continue as it always does. But I will perform my tasks with a new understanding. I am not just a servant to a gladiator. I am the confidant of a philosopher-warrior, and I am the only person in the world who knows that his strength comes not just from his sword, but from the secret memory of a small wooden bird. The evening meal is over, and the last light has faded from the sky. The cell is now an island of light and warmth in the deep darkness of the night. The torches in the corridor have been lit, casting a flickering orange glow under our door. The day is almost done, but my duties are not. The final phase of my work is to restore order, to clean and prepare our small space for the night and for the day to come. This is a quiet, solitary task. Crixus is sitting on his cot, his back against the wall. He is in that quiet, meditative state that he often enters in the evenings. He is not sleeping, just resting, processing the day. He leaves me to my work. He knows the rhythms of my duties as well as I know his. I start with the plates from our meal. I take them to the water basin. I use a handful of sand as a scouring agent, scrubbing away the last traces of the stew and porridge. The sound of the sand against the wood is a rough, scratching sound. It is the sound of cleaning, of removing the old to make way for the new. I rinse the plates and the spoons with clean water from the pitcher and set them on a small shelf to dry. The simple act of washing the dishes is grounding. It is a task that is the same in a palace or in a prison. It is a universal act of domestic order. Next, I turn my attention to the floor. The stone floor of our cell accumulates a layer of dust and grime throughout the day. I have a small, stiff-bristled broom made of twigs bound together. I begin in one corner and I sweep my way across the entire cell. The broom makes a soft, rhythmic scratching sound. She. I sweep the dust into a small pile. It is a collection of the day's debris. Dust from the training yard, a few stray grains of barley, a loose thread from a tunic. It is the physical evidence of our existence, of our passage through another day. I carefully collect the pile onto a flat piece of wood and I will dispose of it in the morning. A clean floor makes the small space feel larger, more peaceful. It is an act of respect for the space we inhabit, no matter how humble it may be. As I sweep, my mind is calm. The repetitive, simple action is a form of meditation. It allows my thoughts to settle. I think about the conversation we had during the meal, his words about fear and anger. It was a glimpse into the mind of a survivor. He has lived his life on the edge of a blade, and it has taught him hard lessons. Lessons that he, for some reason, chose to share with me. I understand now that his stoic silence is not a lack of feeling. It is a form of armor, just as real as the bronze greaves I polished this morning. It is the armor he wears to protect his inner self from the brutality of his world. He must be hard, he must be focused, he must be a gladiator. But tonight, for a few moments, he allowed me to see behind the armor, and what I saw was not a monster, but a man. A wise, weary man who has seen too much of the world's violence. After sweeping, I attend to the armor and weapons one last time. I give the training sword a final wipe with an oily cloth to protect it from the damp night air. I check the leather straps on the armor again, ensuring that the tallow has fully soaked in and the leather is supple. I am a guardian of these objects. Their readiness is my responsibility. My final task in this cleaning ritual is to tend to the bedding. I smooth out the straw in my own pallet, making it as comfortable as possible for the night. Then I go to his cot. I straighten his blanket, a thick wool thing that provides warmth against the chill of the night. I smooth it out, making it neat and tidy. It is a small gesture, a simple act of care. But in our world, these small gestures are everything. They are the threads that hold the fabric of our lives together. The cell is now clean, the floor is swept, the dishes are washed, the armor is ready, the beds are made. I have restored order. I have pushed back against the chaos for one more day. I look around the small room, lit by the soft glow of the fire, and I feel a sense of deep satisfaction. This is my domain, and I have cared for it well. Crixus watches me as I finish my work. His expression is unreadable, as usual, but I feel that something has shifted between us tonight. The barrier of master and servant feels thinner, more permeable. We are two men sharing a small room at the end of a long day. We are two survivors, each playing our part in the strange, brutal theatre of the Ludius. I have done all that I can do. The cell is ready for the night. My work is done. Now, all that is left is to bank the fire and then to seek the release of sleep. But even as I prepare for rest, my mind is active. The events of the day, the conversation, the constant presence of the secret of the sparrow, all swirl together. The cleaning of the cell is not just a physical act, it is a mental one. It is a clearing of the space, both inside and out, to prepare for the mysteries that the night will bring. The cell is clean and quiet. The ludus outside has settled into a deep hush. The only sounds are the distant footsteps of the night watch and the soft, steady breathing of the fire. I have completed my duties. I sit on my pallet, my back against the cold stone wall, ready for sleep. But I know, somehow, that the day is not yet over. There is one more chapter to be written. Crixus is still sitting on his cot. He has not moved for a long time. He is staring at the wall, but I know he is not seeing the stones. He is seeing something else, something far away. The bandages I wrapped around his shoulders are a stark white against the dim light. The scent of the herbal poultice hangs in the air, a fragrance of healing and memory. He finally breaks the silence. His voice is even lower than before, a soft rumble that barely disturbs the quiet. "My father was a woodcarver," he says. The words hang in the air between us. They are simple words, but they are a revelation. A piece of the puzzle I have been trying to solve for so long, given to me freely. I do not respond. I do not even breathe. I remain perfectly still, a silent vessel, ready to receive whatever he is willing to give. He was not a great artist, Crixus continues, a faint, sad smile touching his lips. He carved spoons and bowls and simple toys for the village children. His hands were always covered in sawdust. They smelled of pine and oak. He could take a worthless piece of wood and find something beautiful inside it. A horse, a wolf, a small bird. My heart beats faster. A small bird, the sparrow. The secret I have held for so long is about to be unlocked. I feel a strange mix of excitement and fear. I am about to cross a threshold to learn something that will change everything. He carved one for me, he says, his voice thick with emotion. For my 5th birthday, a little sparrow. He told me that even though a sparrow is a small, common bird, it is free. It can fly wherever it wishes. He told me to always keep a piece of that freedom in my heart, no matter where life took me. He pauses, and I can hear the weight of the years in his silence, the years that have taken him so far from that small boy, from that loving father, from that simple village life. Our village was on the border, he says, his voice hardening slightly, the memory bringing pain. The legions came. They said we were on the wrong side of a line they had drawn on a map. There was a fight. My father, he was not a warrior. He was a woodcarver. He died with a splintered spoon in his hand. The story is a tragedy, a story that has been repeated 1,000 times across the vastness of the empire, a story of conquest, of lives shattered by the relentless march of Rome. But this is not just a story. This is his story. This is the wound at the very center of his being. I was taken, he says, his voice flat, devoid of emotion now. He is reciting facts, not reliving the pain. Sold, ended up here. They saw that I was big and strong and full of a rage that could burn down the world. They taught me how to use it. They gave me a sword and they pointed me at other men who had their own stories, their own fathers. They turned me into this. He gestures around the cell, at the armor, at the weapons, at himself. Now I understand. Everything, the sadness in his eyes, the weariness that sleep can never cure, the relentless discipline, the armor of silence. He is not just a gladiator. He is a survivor of a great trauma. He is a boy who lost everything and who has spent his entire life trying to make sense of the violence that tore his world apart. I have only one thing left from that life, he says, and I know what he is going to say before he says it. The sparrow. I keep it hidden. It is the only thing they have not taken from me. It is the only thing that is truly mine. He looks at me, and his eyes are not the eyes of a champion gladiator. They are the eyes of a grieving son. Sometimes, he whispers, I think it is the only thing that keeps me human. The secret is no longer just mine. It is ours now. He has shared the weight of it with me. He has trusted me with the most vulnerable part of himself. I do not know why. Perhaps he saw something in my quiet service, in my patient care, that made him feel safe. Perhaps he was just so tired of carrying the story alone that he had to let it out. I finally find my own voice. It is as quiet as his. It is a beautiful story, I say. It is all I can offer. It feels inadequate, but it is true. He gives a small, slow nod. He seems relieved. The telling of the story has eased some of the pressure inside him. He has honored the memory of his father. He has given voice to the boy he once was. He lies down on his cot and turns to face the wall. The conversation is over. He has revealed the core of his soul, and now he needs to retreat, to be alone with his thoughts. I sit in the silence for a long time, the weight of his story settling over me. It is a heavy story, full of pain and loss, but it is also a story of resilience, of love, of the incredible strength of the human spirit to hold on to a small piece of beauty in a world of profound ugliness. I now see him in a completely new light, Every action, every silence, every scar is now imbued with a deeper meaning. He is not just a master to be served. He is a man to be protected. And his secret, the secret of the sparrow, is a sacred trust. A trust that I will keep for as long as I draw breath. The story has been told. A profound and heavy silence has settled in our cell, but it is not an empty silence. It is filled with the weight of memory, with the ghost of a woodcarver, and the spirit of a small, free bird. Crixus is turned away from me, a still form in the dim light. I do not know if he is asleep or simply lost in the past. It does not matter. The day has given all it can give. Now it is time to prepare for the true darkness, for the deep rest of the night. My final task is a simple one, yet it is full of symbolism. I must bank the coals in the brazier, the fire that has served us all day, providing warmth, light, and a place to cook our food, must now be put to bed. It cannot be extinguished completely. We will need it to start the fire again in the morning, so I must preserve its heart, its living core. Through the long, cold hours of the night, I move to the brazier. The bright flames are gone, replaced by a bed of embers that glow with a deep, pulsing red light. They look like a collection of sleeping jewels. The heat they radiate is gentle, a soft, breathing warmth. I take a small iron shovel. My movements are slow and deliberate. I am careful not to make any noise that might disturb the profound quiet of the room. I begin to cover the glowing coals with a layer of fine, grey ash from the edges of the brazier. The ash acts as a blanket. It insulates the coals from the cold air, starving them of the oxygen they need to burn brightly. But it does not smother them completely. It allows them to smolder slowly, to keep their inner heat alive, but dormant. As I gently spoon the ash over the embers, I watch the bright red glow begin to dim. It is like a sunset happening in a small iron bowl. The light fades, the vibrant color recedes, until all that is left is a soft, almost invisible pulse of heat in the center of the grey ash. The fire is sleeping now, but it is not dead. Its life force is still there, hidden, waiting for the morning to be awakened again. This act feels deeply meaningful tonight. I think of Crixus. He is like this fire. The world sees the bright, dangerous flames of the gladiator, the Crixus of the arena. But he has banked the coals of his true self, of the boy who loved his father, the woodcarver. He has covered that part of himself in a protective layer of ash, the ash of silence and discipline and emotional distance. He has done this to survive. But tonight, he showed me that the coals are still glowing underneath. His story was a brief uncovering, a moment where he let the old fire breathe. He showed me the warm, living heart that he keeps so carefully hidden from the world. And just like the fire in this brazier, that inner fire, the memory of his father and the sparrow, is what allows him to begin again each morning. It is the core of his strength, the source of his will to live. I have finished the task. The brazier is now a mound of cool, grey ash. The last of the light is gone. The cell is plunged into a deep darkness, broken only by the thin sliver of torchlight from under the door. The warmth in the room begins to fade, and the familiar chill of the stone walls starts to creep back in. I am the keeper of the fire, both the fire in the brazier and the secret fire of the man I serve. I have a duty to both. I must ensure the physical fire is ready for the morning, and I must protect the story I have been told, keep it safe, and never betray the trust he has placed in me. I move silently through the darkness to my own pallet. I lie down and pull the rough blanket over me. The straw rustles softly beneath me. I am tired. It has been a long day, full of physical work and profound emotional revelations. My body aches and my mind is full. I close my eyes. I can still see the glowing coals in my mind. I can still hear the quiet timbre of his voice as he told me his story. I understand now that my life here is not just one of servitude. It is one of witness. I am here to see the things that no one else sees. I am here to understand the man behind the myth. The secret of the sparrow is no longer a mystery to be solved. It is a truth to be honored. It is the story of a father's love, a symbol of enduring freedom, and the last anchor to a life that was stolen. It is the most precious thing in this entire Ludius, more valuable than any champion's prize. As I lie here on the edge of sleep, I feel a sense of peace that I have not felt before. My world has a new depth, a new meaning. My simple, repetitive tasks are not just chores. They are acts of preservation. I am helping to keep a man's soul alive. And in a world defined by death, there is no greater purpose than that. The night is deep and full of shadows, but for the first time, I do not feel lost in it. I feel like I am exactly where I am supposed to be. The cell is now a chamber of deep darkness and profound silence. The last echoes of the day have faded completely. The Ludus sleeps. The great, violent heart of the Gladiator school has slowed to a faint, rhythmic pulse. The only movement is the slow, steady rise and fall of Crixus's chest as he breathes in the heavy air of the night. He is asleep. His journey into the land of dreams has begun. I pray that tonight they are dreams of a forest, of the smell of pine and oak, and not of the blood and sand of the arena. My own journey to sleep is beginning. I lie on my back, my hands resting on my stomach. The rough blanket is a thin shield against the persistent chill that recesses from the stone floor. I can feel the weariness in every part of my body, a deep, satisfying ache in my muscles from a day of honest work. My body is ready for rest. It craves the oblivion of sleep. But my mind is still active. It is replaying the day, sifting through the moments, the sounds, the sights, the feelings. It is a day that started like any other, with the familiar rituals of waking, cleaning, and preparing. But it is ending as a day unlike any other. It is the day the silence was broken. The day the secret was shared. The weight of his story is a heavy thing. It settles on my heart like a warm stone. It is a weight of sadness for the boy who lost his father and his world. But it is also a weight of privilege. He chose me. He chose me to be the keeper of his most sacred memory. In this brutal, hierarchical world, he saw me not as just a servant, but as a fellow man worthy of his trust. This is a gift, a profound and unexpected honor that I will carry with me for the rest of my days. I think about trust. It is a fragile thing. easily broken. In this place, trust is a currency more valuable than gold. Gladiators must trust their training partners not to deliver a fatal blow in practice. They must trust the blacksmith to forge a strong blade. They must trust the cooks not to poison the food. And Crixus, he must trust me. He must trust me to care for his armor, to prepare his food, to tend to his wounds, and now to hold his very soul in my hands. I will not fail that trust. It has become the new center of my life, the guiding star in my dark world. My breathing begins to slow, to deepen. I am consciously relaxing my body, releasing the tension from my shoulders, my back, my legs. I let the weariness wash over me, a slow and gentle tide. The boundary between wakefulness and sleep is beginning to blur. My thoughts become less structured, more fluid. They drift like smoke from a dying fire. I see an image in my mind. A small wooden sparrow, its wings outstretched. It is flying through a dark forest. It is not afraid. It knows the way. It is following the scent of pine and oak. It is flying home. The image is comforting. It is a symbol of hope, a sign that even in the deepest darkness, there is a path to a place of peace. I feel myself sinking into the straw of my pallet, sinking through the stone floor, sinking into the deep, quiet earth. The weight of my own body becomes a comfort. It is an anchor holding me to this world, even as my consciousness prepares to leave it for a few hours. The last thoughts of the day are of gratitude. I am grateful for the simple things, for the warmth of the fire, for the taste of the evening meal, for the strength in my own body that allows me to do my work. And I am profoundly grateful for the story. It has changed the very texture of my existence. My life is no longer a flat, grey landscape of servitude. It now has depth and color and a secret, hidden beauty. The darkness behind my eyelids is complete. The outside world is gone. There is only the inner world now, the world of breath and shadow, and the slow, steady beat of my own heart. I am on the edge of sleep. The great, heavy curtain of the night is about to fall. And as I finally let go, as I surrender to the pull of unconsciousness, my very last thought is a simple one. Tomorrow, I will wake up before the dawn. I will light the fire. I will prepare the meal. I will polish the armor. I will do my job. But I will do it differently. I will do it with the knowledge that I am not just serving a gladiator. I am protecting a flicker of freedom, the memory of a woodcarver's love embodied in the soul of a small wooden sparrow. And that makes all the difference. Sleep comes now, a welcome and peaceful friend.